We all know that time is our most precious asset, and I'd like to thank you for taking some of your time today to learn something that could change your life and your business. I'm Therese Vita, a small business chair for Vistage in Buffalo, New York. The members of my group take the time to really work on how they can become better leaders and accelerate the growth of their businesses. Today, you have the opportunity to learn about navigating tough conversations from our guest, AmyK Hutchens. AmyK is an internationally award-winning speaker. You've seen, heard, or read about her on Bloomberg, ABC, NBC, Entrepreneur, and U.S. News and World Report. She's been a Vistage member for 8 years. She's been speaking for 22 years. Even one tough conversation that challenges current thinking can create a path for high-performing, more innovative, and empathetic teams. AmyK is going to share some insights with us today. AmyK, I'd like to welcome you. I'm so excited to have you with us.
Therese, it's my pleasure. I feel honored to be invited, so thank you.
Of course, of course. What should business owners be thinking about right now when they're doing their strategic planning? It's end of year. What words of wisdom do you have?
Well, there's probably 1,001 things that business owners are trying to juggle right now at the end of the year. But I'll tell you that there's two really important conversations that I'm working with my coaching clients on right now. And that is one, the reflective performance review. Let's go back and take a look at what happened this year. And one of the things that I've learned over the years is that even our high performers are very sensitive to constructive, critical feedback. And so one of the things that I love to do, Therese, is to do what I call a 6-question framework, where we talk about aligning brilliance. And why I love it so much is, one, it absolutely works, and I don't have an ego around it. It's not my tool. It comes from Aristotle, so it's been around for a while. And the reason that I think it's been around for a while is because it is so brilliant. And so what we do is we do a psychological framework of aligning our brilliance to both look at reflectively the year behind us and then co-create the year in front of us. So let's just say you were my boss, Therese, and I work for you. You'd come to me and you would say, okay, AmyK, what were the strengths for you? What were the strengths for our team? What were the strengths for our company in this last year? And we would talk about those strengths. And then we would talk about question number 2, what worked in this past year? So it could be operational, we made payroll, our IT systems got improved, or our collaboration and communication, but we went from strengths individually and collectively to what worked individually and collectively. And then you would look at me and say, okay, are we still aligned? I'll do it on the Zoom screen. Are we still aligned on our Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, maybe even 2-year goals? So we'd make sure that we paint that vision together, that we're both aligned on where we're headed. And then you would look at me and you would say, what's the benefit to you personally when you meet and exceed these goals? What's the benefit to our team? What's the benefit to our community? What's the benefit to our charities and causes? And then, and only then, would you look at me and say, now, what are some of your concerns, AmyK? What could prevent you from being successful going forward? You would add to that as well, things that are in our control, things that are outside of our control. And then we would close with, well, based on those concerns, where we want to go and what we've done so well, what do you want to do more of, better, or in addition going forward? Like, what do you want to tweak? How do we want to set ourselves up for success? And what I love about this framework is that it doesn't start with event session, but by the time that you do get to concerns, you're in this beautiful problem-solving mode of, we're building on the strengths that we've already done. We're building on all this momentum, and you and I, our voices are both significant to creating a really profitable future. And I love that. So that's the first conversation that I would encourage you to have. But I'll take a breath there because that was a lot.
Yes. So why do business owners take so long to have those tough conversations?
Well, I think, so if I go back, I'll play it 2 ways. The second conversation that I think that leaders are having right now is the visionary, the strategic one, the where we're going. And what we often do is, and we make a mistake, especially as small business owners, we focus on the goal in and of itself. And what I've learned and what my clients have proven over the years is that when we focus on that goal exclusively, we typically don't meet it. let alone exceed it. So if we focus on who do I need to be to lead into that goal, who do I need to be to make that goal happen, you're much more likely to exceed it. And I think that, to answer your second question, I think that the reason that it's so difficult for some of us to have our hardest conversations is we visualize it going really poorly. We're afraid that we're going to make things worse. And some of us aren't even sure how to start it. So it's sort of like a lot of times people will come to me like, hey, AmyK, I need to have this conversation, but like, how do I even get it going? And one of the best things that I can tell you is to just be really transparent. So let's say I had to have a tough conversation with you, and I show up and I say, Therese, we need to have a really tough but important conversation. Or I've been avoiding this conversation because I really don't want to hurt you, and it's really important to our relationship. Or I could say, we need to have a really important conversation. It might not be the smoothest conversation, but it really matters to us, the team, the project, our culture. But notice it's just a little bit of vulnerability with that, and it matters. Like, we need to have it.
Right. AmyK, you were a Vistage member for 8 years, and you've been speaking for 22 years. What did you love about Vistage?
Oh, so many things. But I'll tell you, one of my favorite parts was the executive session processing piece. And what I mean by that, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Vistage, is that in a Vistage meeting, you can have all kinds of things going on. But one of the things that you often have is a speaker, hence why I've spoken for Vistage for 22 years. And I did over 2,600 presentations, and I love it. The speaker aspect, super fun for me, hopefully fun for the members. But you'll know that I say this genuinely because as a member, the speakers were nice to have. But what I loved most was the executive session. And that was when you have this peer advisory experience where all these different bright brains sat at a table and we helped each other problem solve. We help each other grow and scale. And so what I loved were all these minds, these diverse perspectives, these different backgrounds and experiences coming together to either help me grow or we were helping somebody else grow. And I joke that, Therese, that oftentimes I would be learning just as much from other people's problems as I was my own, because it'd be like, oh, note to self, don't do that. Or, oh, that was great advice, and now I know what not to do. So I loved that part of the day.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. People are really burned out. It's the end of the year. They're weary. What kind of things should they be doing right now? No.
Okay.
A lot of people are really weary and burned out at the end of the year, right? It's been a long year. And what tough conversations should we be having with ourselves?
Brilliant question. And I think that where I would start with that, because there's a lot to unpack there, is you have to decide, what energy do I want to live in? Like, that to me is that brilliant mindset, that self-leadership question of, what energy do I want to live in? Who are we giving our energy away to? Where are we giving up our power? And by that, I mean, are you letting other people impact you? Are you letting the headlines hijack your emotions? Are you focused on all the things that aren't going well? Or are you choosing the energy with which you show up in? And so I'll often ask at this time of year, what energy really do you want to live in? And I don't mean that in a toxic positivity. I mean that in taking back your power to say, I am the only one that gets to choose my state of being, my energy today. Who do I want to be and how do I want to play today? And I use that word play purposefully.
Absolutely. We thank you for that advice. Managing ourselves and getting to the point where we are an energy source for others is really important.
It really is.
Thank you so much, AmyK, for all of your insights today. We look forward to having you again on this show. Have a great day.
Oh, thanks so much, Therese. Thank you so much.
Bye. Okay. That was not our original talk. Remember, we didn't do this one.
But that was okay. We still shared great gems.
Yeah, we did. I like that other one. I think I was a little awkward in the beginning. Would we be able to just do that beginning part?
Absolutely. You want to do that again? And by the way, if you liked one section of that other one, just ask me that question. Do you recall what you particularly liked that we discussed?
Well, you were talking about you were talking about the strategic plan. There was a framework that you talked about.
It's the same one that I just did, but we did it with a different question.
Okay. All right. So okay. So yeah, what we're doing and okay.
Yeah.
So is there a way for me to say, how might you apply? Like, how do I provide it in a different context? How can I ask a question about it in a different context?
Yeah, you can, and by the way, Paul, who's going to be watching this, Paul can then use this section right here that we're about to do he can just insert it as at a different timing to follow that. So right after I do that whole 6-question framework, you can say, oh my God, that's great. Where else in your life might you apply it? And I can riff.
Okay. Did you say 6 questions? You did.
I did.
Okay. So I know what I was doing. It's very important that I look at the camera all the time. And I was looking at you when you were talking, and I saw how bad that looked. And so that's why I want to do it again.
Okay.
Okay. So this 6-question framework is great. Where else could we apply that, or say that again?
Yeah, just where else you could say that's a great 6-question framework. Where else might we apply it? Or where else in our lives can we use it? Just keep it friendly. Like that's how we would talk if we were having a glass of wine. You'd be like, where else can I use it?
Use this. Okay. Okay. All right. So the beginning part was where you started to talk. So it was, what should business owners be thinking about now that it's the end of the year? I think that whole section, when you were talking, I was looking at you.
Okay.
So we can just do that section, and then I will do the other question that you just suggested. So it'll be perfect. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Great.
Yeah, this is good. This is all good.
I feel calmer. I hope I'm not.
You're coming across very relaxed and confident. You really are.
Good.
So whether you feel it or not, you're coming across very confident.
I do feel it. I feel much better than I did last time.
Good. Yay.
So, yeah.
Therese, you and I just pretend that our hot water is wine and we're just having a conversation.
I know. And right.
And you look fabulous.
Oh, thank you. I feel like I look very business-like, but
you look, well, I say this irreverently, but I don't mean it. You look like you know something, but you also just look beautiful. Like you're just the camera likes you. Your lighting is perfect. Your makeup is very natural. You look, and this is going to be weird for me to say this. You look beautiful.
Oh,
a very appropriate and professional, non-HR appropriate, but you look beautiful. So you're coming across super poised.
Great. Okay, great. Oh my gosh, is this still going? It is. Oh, we talked about that whole thing.
Paul edited it. It's all good.
Yeah, Paul, you take care of it, okay?
Yeah. Paul, make us look good.
Okay. AmyK, what should business owners be thinking about at the end of the year now that we're AmyK, what should business owners be thinking about at the end of the year?
Well, I think that might be a trick question, Therese, because there's probably 1,001 things that business owners are thinking about. But let's talk about 2 really important conversations that business owners need to have right now. One is obviously, I think everybody can agree, that reflective, how has this last year gone? And then the second one is, where are we going in our vision and our strategy? And there's a great question framework that I love to do for both of these conversations because they make everybody's voice feel significant. And it's a 6-question framework called Aligning Brilliance. And the first question is, what are our strengths? individually and collectively. In other words, what have we done well? I mean, there's probably some missteps that we need to talk about, but let's start with our strengths. Question number 2 is what worked? So this is operational, systemic, our processes. This is about all those things that set us up for success. Could be we made payroll on time, to we actually have great IT infrastructure, to the way that we communicate. But you actually want everybody to participate on the what worked well. And then the third question is, are we aligned on our objectives going forward? Now, that could be 30, 60, 90 days if you're ready to do the whole year ahead. But are we aligned on our objectives? Again, individually and collectively. And then we're going to ask, what's the benefit to you? What's the benefit to our team? What's the benefit to our company, our charities, our causes when, notice that psychological play, when we meet and exceed our objectives? And then, only then, Therese, do we introduce concerns. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been to way too many meetings in the past where people are like, oh, I'm just going to turn this productive meeting into a total waste of time and vent session. And so this is the perfect opportunity, the first moment where you say, what are our concerns? What could prevent us from being successful in the future? Things that are within our control, things that are outside of our control. And then you ask that sixth and final question. Well, then based on all of that, strengths, what's working? Are we aligned on our objectives? What's the payoff when we get there? What are our concerns? Then we say, well, then what do we want to tweak? As in, what do we want to do more of, better, and in addition to ensure we set ourselves up for success? And I love this tool, and I have no ego around it because it's not mine. It goes way back to Aristotle. And I think that the reason that it's been around for so long is because it really works. It really is a brilliant framework.
Aristotle knew what he was talking about, right?
He sure did. He sure did.
That framework was really interesting, AmyK. Great framework. All right, let me say it again. AmyK, that was a really great framework. Are there any other areas that we can apply this?
Oh, yes. Okay, so I love doing it with performance one-on-one reviews. I love doing it with team strategy and vision into the next project or the new phase. I love doing it at home. I think it's a great family tool. Just take out the word, like our team, and say, hey, what are the strengths of our family? What's working as a family? What do we want as a family? What's the payoff when we all get what we want? You can skip concerns. Your kids don't need to vent. And then you can go straight to, well, then what do we want to do more of, better, in addition this year as a family? And that really, without sounding irreverent, that really tells everybody sitting at that table that their voice matters. And I love the tool for that. The other place that I think it's so great is it's a great negotiation tool. And it's also a great conflict resolution tool, because if you're working with another department or a cross area of functionality and there's a little bit of friction, you can get together on at the same table and walk through those 6 questions and recognize everybody's trying to do their best. Everybody's trying to meet these common goals and their individual goals, and we can play better together.
Yeah, I really like the flow of that. It just makes it more natural to have what could be a tough conversation into a natural part of a conversation.
I agree. I love it. And my clients prove that it works over and over and over again. Thousands of clients, I should say hundreds of clients have used it thousands of times, and it works.
Yeah, I can see that. It's always wonderful to see you, AmyK. Thank you again for sharing your insights and your energy, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Oh, thanks, Therese, for having me. It was an honor, a true honor to have this conversation with you.
See you next time, viewers.